Hey everybody, I'm drawing a comic. You can see it in the background. Now this is part of makingcomics.com. They have this open course that anybody can take, and it's been like this weekly course. So week 1 you talk about how do you write your script and how do you plan out your comic, and week 2 it talks about thumbnails and the importance of thumbnails, and then it talks about pencils, and then it talks about inks. So it basically walks you through all the steps that you go through to create a comic book. It's cool for me because I'm used to drawing comic strips. This is really kind of one of my first, not my very first, but one of my first attempts to draw or write and draw a story. I've also been doing this with my daughter. She's been having a lot of fun with it. She's way ahead of on hers than I am on mine. I'm way behind. But again, this is just kind of good practice, and it's been kind of a fun thing to do. And of course, like everything I do, I have kind of a dual purpose. One is to actually draw something, create something. And since I do software reviews and hardware reviews and that sort of thing, I'm thinking about ways that I can actually draw something that will influence my hardware and software reviews and that sort of thing. So one of the things I wanted to do here is I wanted to draw this entirely on the iPad. So if you read through the comment section of most of my video blog posts, you'll see that like one of the common questions that I get is, when do you use your Surface Pro and when do you use your iPad when you're drawing? So when I would just want to have fun and sketch and draw, I usually grab the iPad and go with that. When I have to do real work, I tend to grab the Surface Pro, mostly because I'm familiar with the software. If I'm already in something like Clip Studio or Photoshop, I can do a lot of the finishing in those programs and I don't have to move it around, or if I can have them both open at the same time. So if I have to move something from like Adobe Illustrator, I can paste it right into Photoshop. You know, I'm not opening... Just because the apps are open at the same time, it just makes that flow a lot easier. But at the same time, I've been using the iPad more and more, and I'm trying to think through how I can use it for my projects. And so this comic thing has been really good for me. And like I said before, there are different steps because you're writing and thumbnailing and penciling and inking and all that stuff. And so how do I do all of that on the iPad? Well, I decided not to actually write my initial script on the iPad. I don't have a keyboard for my iPad, so I ended up using just my computer or the Surface or something for that. And then I saved that to Dropbox, and then I opened the script in Dropbox, and then I was kind of bouncing back and forth, and then I was taking that script and making thumbnails out of it. Now, to make the thumbnails, I used Medibang. And the reason I chose Medibang is because I wanted to kind of figure out what the comic book frame was going to look like, what the panel layout was going to be. Like, will this page have 4 panels? Will it have 5 panels? Will it have 6 panels? And Medibang has a cool frame layout tool, so I thought that'll work well. And I could also pop text in there, too. I wanted to get a fairly... Even though I don't like the text that Medibang has, like all the fonts are ugly, or at least putting the text in there will tell me how much space I need to leave for it when I'm actually like penciling and drawing. And I was actually thinking that I might use Medibang to finish the artwork. But then somewhere along the line, I don't think I saved my file, and then it's, you know, kind of a family iPad, so different people use it. So if Medibang stays closed for too long, you lose your artwork if you didn't save it. So oops, I lost all my thumbnails. Fortunately, I had done them, so they were all in my head. So I just thought, well, I prefer drawing in Procreate, so I'm just going to bust open Procreate and just do everything there. And so I did. I can draw straight lines with Procreate. There is a way to do that. You can't make them perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical, so they're slightly off when you draw your straight lines. And what this panel is and why I'm drawing this separately is I decided to, once I kind of had the size figured out, as I pulled it into its own, this particular panel I pulled into its own file. Because I wanted to experiment with it and everything, and I wanted something that I could then record the video of and post it out as a blog post like this. So far I've done most of this, you know, on the iPad, and it has worked pretty well. You will notice that the background is gradient. I can't make gradients in Procreate. I don't think I can make gradients, at least not like the way I can in Photoshop. So I made the gradient in Photoshop, and then I imported it as a file and stretched it out to fit the background. Yeah, so how I'm doing it here is I draw out the characters, and I wanted to make the characters colorful, and then I wanted the background to be colorful too, but I wanted the background to only be a couple tones. So it's that background, and then I draw with black lines and white shapes, and then I turn down the opacity in those, and I think I may have even set them to overlay. Overlay is like a layer mode, so you can set the layer to overlay, and it's kind of cool. I don't know how to describe what overlay does, but it's not, instead of it being like pure black, it sets it to this weird transparency, which makes the colors richer. I have no idea how to explain it. You should play around with overlay modes. I use it a lot for shadows on characters too. Sometimes I'll draw my cartoon characters and I'll just do flat paints. And then I'll start a new layer and I'll just draw in black and white on that layer. And then I'll set that layer to overlay and I'll change the opacity. And it makes kind of a nice shadow because instead of the shadow being a shade of black, it takes, like, if it's over a blue color, it'll just make it a deeper blue. It's just nice. I have no idea how it works or what it's doing, but it looks cool. So anyway, this is taking me forever to draw this comic. I'm having fun with it. I hope to have it up in a couple weeks. It's kind of funny. I like the ending, so I can't wait to share it. And that's all I got for today. I got some more reviews on the way. I also have some news on my video from last week. I've been talking to some folks from the Surface Pro team about the pen issues, so I might have, if they give me enough information, I might have a follow-up video on that. And that's about it. So thank you guys for watching. I'll be back in a week or so, and I'll talk to you then. Bye.